Hey Neil, what's up?
Hi, Johnny.
Good evening once again.
Good evening.
How's things going on? With we are entering another week of lockdown yet again.
Yes, we are. And I don't think it feels like 3 months. This feels like it's very short, to be honest.
I only
And
know today is Saturday because today we have the Catholic Chai Talk Show. That's the only reason
yeah,
I know today
exactly.
is Saturday. So yeah,
Exactly.
things are
Yeah.
going pretty
So,
fast. It's already June. I mean, about to get over this month itself. Never even knew when it started. And how are things in Kochi, where you are?
sure, things are good. I mean, yeah, the number of COVID cases are increasing a little bit, but things are okay. And yeah, and I think people are, staying indoors right now. And I think things are going good.
Awesome,
What
awesome.
about you?
So I am
What's the
still
status of Bangalore?
Yeah, I'm still in Bangalore. I'm working from home. Again, a lot of uncertainty over here. Cases are fluctuating, mostly rising. So again, praying about it. Hopefully things will get well soon, and hopefully we're all. I mean, I'll get to see my family as well, located in Kerala in Kochi. Hopefully, I'll be able to
Yeah.
come down as well pretty soon. Hopefully. While we wait for our beloved audience members of the live audience to join, Neil, don't you have a song for us?
Yes, I have a song.
Awesome, awesome,
Before that, I
awesome.
think about three people have said hi. Hi, Gio. Gio's joined us. Yes, and Sharon.
So,
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Maxima. Hi, Sharon. Okay, so
Maxima, it's been a long while now, Maxima.
yeah,
Hello.
people from Ranchi, Bangalore, Kochi. Yes.
Yes,
Hi,
yes.
Angelin. Hi, Nikita.
Hi, Arun. Arun David is on the live.
Okay, so I'm going to take a small song right now. Pretty sure a lot of you know the song. If you don't know the song, it's okay. You can learn it, and the others you can sing along with me. Okay, so here we go. I love the thrill that I feel when I get together with God's wonderful people. Love the thrill that I feel when I get together with God's wonderful people. What a sight just to see all the happy faces, praising God in heavenly places. What a thrill that I feel when I get together with God's wonderful people. I love the thrill that I feel when I get together with God's wonderful people. Love the thrill that I feel when I get together with God's wonderful people. What a sight just to see all the happy faces, praising God in heavenly places. What a thrill that I feel when I get together with God's wonderful people. Okay, so there's a reason why I chose this song. Because this song
Of course, there would be.
specifically, yes, there's always a reason. So this song talks about God's wonderful people, right? So I was thinking about our topic for the day, who is my neighbor? Okay, so I was thinking, who is my neighbor? And the first thought that came into my mind was every person who is God's people is my neighbor, right? But then I think there's still a question remaining: who exactly is God's people, right? Do you know who they are, Johnny?
Well, I mean, you and I, of course, definitely. But apart from that, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just beyond that standard definition of the person living next door. I think pretty much for me, my neighbor happens to be every single person that I meet on any given day at any given point of time. That's my neighbor. That's who my neighbor is to me. So
Okay. To Johnny, it is like that. For me, it is something different. And yeah, so I think we have more people joining us. Hi, Dylan. Hi,
absolutely.
Jomon. Hi,
So,
Dia.
all of you lovely audience members joining, if it would be awesome if you could mention the place from which you are watching
Yeah.
this live, you're on this live show. Hi,
Yes. I mean,
Jomon. Uh, Dawn.
hi,
Hi, Dawn. Been a
Jaren.
while now. Jaren is there. Before that, we have a couple of others who joined while we were singing, while you were singing. Hi, Michelle. Hi,
Hi,
Smriti.
Reshma.
Sophia.
Davis. Jason.
Jason.
Hi.
We've got Rosemary from Angamali. Welcome to the show, Rosemary.
Okay. Hi. Yes. So I think a lot of people are joining us, and I think it is time to welcome our guest for the day. Is it Johnny?
Yeah, yeah. I think we can,
Yes.
because
Yes.
even I kind of need a clearer answer to the question which you asked me. Who is our
Yeah.
neighbor? Who is my neighbor? So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a little impatient now. So
Yeah. So I would like to welcome CC Joseph. So hi CC, he's coming in. Yes.
there he
Hi
is,
CC.
audience, wherever
Hi.
you are, live applause, applause.
Yes. So a small intro about CC Joseph. CC Joseph is the former international coordinator of Jesus Youth, and he's also the director of Fourth Wave Foundation. You would have seen that in the poster. So Fourth Wave Foundation is an NGO that works for disabled children, and also they help children to come out of substance abuse also. So he's basically a social worker, a person who does a lot for kids and for the society. So welcome, CC.
Thank you.
Welcome to you,
Pleasure to be
CC.
here. Thank you. How
So
are you guys doing?
we are
We are
pretty,
good.
pretty okay, CC. I mean,
No
the
sneezing,
current
coughing,
situations.
no
Not
fever.
exactly.
No, no.
Just no. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, so CC is also joining us from Kochi. So both of us are in Kochi, and I think things are fine here. We just have to suspect the Bangalore people, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Of course. Neil, you will have a bucket coming your way soon. Audience,
He still
please watch
hasn't
our
got the
last episode
buckets.
for understanding the terminology of that. But moving on, CC, probably I think all of us would like to know. We'll probably begin the show with addressing the that one question, which is also the episode topic for today. Who is my neighbor? Like, is there a benchmark? Is there a standard by which we can define who my neighbor is, or what are your thoughts on that?
Before maybe we get into that, I'll
You
just take a
have,
few
yeah,
minutes
sure.
to set a context. So I'm just sharing my screen, just enable sharing my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
we can see
see.
it.
We can see. CC.
Okay. Before I go into this topic, just one or two words about Fourth Way Foundation. Yes, Fourth Way Foundation works primarily with children, and we are right now focusing on two areas. Like you said, one is working with children with disabilities, and second is working with children to keep them away from substance abuse or drugs. And in the last couple of years, two beautiful things that happened was we had the privilege to meet the Holy Father and present the projects to him, and also we had the United Nations has recognized Project Venda as one of the best practices in the world, and it is today featured in their best practices, and Anna had the privilege of actually presenting it at the UN. And from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we have a live conference happening. So if you want, you can join. So back to the discussion of today. Why I am setting this context is because if we don't set this context, then there is a possibility that we may go into a lot of areas. So because of the limitation of time, I'll just set the context of today's discussion. So who is my neighbor? This is in context to the question Jesus asked, or Jesus sets in the Gospel of Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. You can read where we talk about the good Samaritan, how the first two guys didn't take care of the guy who was wounded, and the Samaritan actually took care of this guy. But more importantly, why is Jesus putting this parable? Jesus is telling this parable to a person or a group of people who came to him and asked, "What must I do to enter eternal life?" And the man, Jesus has a very typical way of addressing questions. You ask him one, he asks you two back, and then you wonder why you asked that question. So Jesus asks him, what do you think? And this guy says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your life, all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said, then you are doing good. But then this guy goes on to ask, who is my neighbor? And that is why Jesus gives this or shares this parable. And I think by sharing this parable, Jesus is breaking boundaries first and foremost, because the moment you use the word neighbor, it is someone who lives on the other side of my fence, or who lives on the other side of the boundary that I keep. So first thing that Jesus breaks is he breaks boundaries. Second, he breaks caste and race because he is projecting the Samaritan as the good person. So Jesus is breaking a lot of things when he defines who is my neighbor, and he goes on to the larger extent of saying that a neighbor is someone who helps when in need. And I don't know if you realize, today is the feast of Mother of Perpetual Help. Okay, and it's a very beautiful, I don't know, coincidence or providence that we are talking about this issue on the feast of Mother of Perpetual Help. And a similar example or similar discussion happens in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, when Jesus is talking about his second coming. When he says, I was hungry, you fed me, I was naked, you clothed me. So, in a way, it is very, 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 if you can answer the question and help your neighbor, Jesus is saying that it makes you enter heaven. So, in this context, maybe we will look at today's discussion, and that is the whole dimension of Catholic social teaching. If you look at if you have done some reading on Catholic social teaching, we say that there are 7 areas, but we will only discuss on one of the areas. But before that, I want to put the word justice in perspective, because it is on the word justice and rights and other things that whole social teaching will revolve around. There are 3 types of justice system, or 3 types of justice that we know. I'll give you examples, it will be helpful. The first is what we are most familiar with, that is commutative justice, where let's say I go for work and the person who is employing me tells me, you will get 100 rupees to work for an hour, and I work for 4 hours, and after 4 hours I am eligible to get, or I should get 400 rupees. If I don't get, then justice is not done. So it is sort of an agreement, and when that is broken, justice is not done. And any other person who works for a similar job that I do should actually be given the similar amount. But let's look at a table where the family is sitting down to eat, and let's say the mother is serving food. When the mother is serving food, you will not see commutative justice over here. She does not actually divide the food equally. If she has 3 children and her maybe parents and the husband sitting there, she does not equally divide the food and give. She gives to the others as much, or to the extent that they can eat. That is distributive justice. So what the youngest child gets may be very different from what the oldest person gets, but all are happy. The beauty of this is all are happy, but they are not getting equal. Okay. And the third dimension is social justice, which I will go into a bit more after the next slide. Now, if you look at Catholic social teaching, again, it talks about 2 feats of love. One is charitable works, the other is social justice. Everybody is familiar with charitable works because especially during the Lenten season, we are encouraged to do that. So you see hungry, you feed the hungry, you go help someone who is in need. You see someone who is discouraged, you help that person. But sometimes we as Catholics don't engage in the second area of social justice, or we limit it to a few people. Charitable works is a call of everyone. Social justice may be not for everyone, but everyone has to raise their voice. So what is social justice? When at charitable work you feed the hungry, when you are engaging in the area of social justice, you start asking the question, why are people hungry? And how can I solve the problem? In charitable works, you help 1 or 2 or maybe 100 individual. But when we look at social justice as a whole, you actually work on the whole system to maybe eliminate the problem of hunger. So that is a small difference, or maybe a major difference. And second major pin on which Catholic social teaching revolves around is the whole philosophy of common good. Now, I don't have time to explain common good, but one thing we have to understand is when we are involved in common good, for simple example, like paying your taxes, you may or may not enjoy the direct benefits of the act that you are doing. For example, you pay taxes, and some of the money that you pay as tax goes to developing the, let's say, police system. You may not directly enjoy the benefit, but indirectly you are enjoying the benefit of what you have done. So the element of common good is one of the pins in which Catholic social teaching revolves. And today's discussion, like I said, we will go deeply into life and dignity of the human person, because this is the key to understanding the other six streams of Catholic social teaching. Why is this important? Because in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26, you see the word of God saying that God created us in his image and likeness. Okay, and that is very, very, very important. So life and dignity of the human person is what we will discuss, or areas around that maybe topic we will discuss today, and then let's see how it goes around. So this is what I have to say to just set the tone, or set the maybe point of what we will discuss today. Yeah.
Thank you so much, CC. That was a very insightful, setting of context over there. Because of course, this is a vast area, and we would, in the context of time, the limitation of time, we need to also focus on certain critical areas as well during the course of this live show. So yes, CC, as I previously asked you, we could just probably kickstart this conversation with, finding an, a reflection on who exactly is my neighbor.
Like Jesus said, anyone who is in need of help is your neighbor, and that means everyone, because irrespective of whatever geographies or whatever religion or whatever caste you are, people are in need of. Maybe I am using the word help in the wrong way, but people are in need of support. So everybody is your neighbor, and anyone you can reach out to becomes maybe a closer neighbor than the other. So you have to be there for everyone.
Okay, I think that's a simple answer, right? Who is my neighbor? I think things are answered right now. Yeah. Okay. See. So you were talking about life and dignity of a human person. You were ending with that during your input in the beginning. So my question is, what does the church have to say about human dignity, or what, according to the church, is human dignity?
Human dignity, or dignity, comes from the word worth. Okay, so in other words, when you say you are being given dignity, or actually nobody can give you dignity, when we say that a person has dignity, you are saying that that person is worth or worthiness of the person. Traditionally, it was associated with what you have, or maybe in the secular term, it is what you have or what you earn, or how high you go in the social sector, or what is your bank balance. But in the eyes of the church, human dignity is not something that you earn by what you do. It is something that is bestowed on you because you are created in the image and likeness of God. That means, and I repeat, that means nobody can take away your dignity. Okay? People can close their eyes and say that you are not there, but nobody can take your dignity away, because you are created in the image and likeness of God. So
Okay. So
simply
I
worth.
think, yes, that explains everything. So it's very clear that human dignity is something that it's not something you earn, but you already have. I mean, it's already bestowed upon you. Yeah, Johnny.
So yeah, so again, one line that I would take away from that, very insightful, is nobody can take away mine or your dignity. So that's something which I take away from that answer. So moving on, CC, we all recently heard in the news, again we keep hearing a lot of tragic incidents, one of that being in the US, the murder of George Floyd, an individual called George Floyd. And then again we hear a lot of incidents in India as well, in our own homeland, in our own motherland, of lots of people being persecuted, being even killed on the grounds of racism and even casteism, especially especially in our motherland. Uh, in spite of all of these incidents, of all of these unfortunate, tragic happenings, what can we do to uphold human dignity? Like in our own stead, what can we do?
Very simply, if you actually start living the way Jesus taught us to live, we will be able to actually uphold human dignity. In other words, the simple question that many years ago we were very commonly asked, taught to ask: what would Jesus do in this situation? Okay, you see someone out there, what would Jesus do, or what would your Savior do? So you way you can uphold human dignity is, one, understand that everyone is created by God, and not just people of your country, not just people of your race, not just people who speak your language, even people who you have never met or you will never meet is created by God and created in His image and likeness. Okay, so one is that. Second is, I want to bring one thing to you is, I don't know if I will make myself clear, but I always believe that if you have to push down someone into the mud, you have to go down with them. Okay, so if you think that you are pushing someone's dignity away, actually you are not affecting that person's dignity. It is actually creating a problem inside you. Okay, so if you see someone not treating the poor with love, the problem is not with the poor. The problem is with the person who is not treating the other with love. So I think if I can understand, or if I look at everyone as created by God and start asking the simple question, what would Jesus do in such situations? I think as a Catholic, I will be able to look at everyone with the same eyes and look at everyone with respect and dignity.
Okay, Cece. Yeah. So, yeah, it's. I think he answered the question. Now, I have a simple doubt when it comes to this. Now, we were talking about George Floyd, people in our countries from other religion. Now, I want to address this question of the Catholic Church. Now, we know that there are 24 liturgical rites in the church, and India is home to two liturgical rites like that, the Syro Malabar and the Syro Malankara Church. So, if you look at the history of these churches, it is highly dependent on culture. And I would say there is a little bit of casteism also there. So, this question is, I think, there in everybody's mind. Is the Catholic Church actually discriminating using these divisions?
Okay, now I'll talk as the church, okay, not as an individual, because
Yeah.
The very fact that there are 24 different churches or liturgical forms in the church is an answer to the fact that the church does not discriminate. Because if the church was discrimination, then it would have asked us to all follow one liturgical rite and leave all the others. So the very fact that I'm allowed to follow the church in which I grow is a realization or understanding of the church that it respects your local traditions, and it respects where you are born and how you are grown up, or how you grow up in your Catholic faith. So because there are 24 is one reason I love the church more, because church has given that space for everyone. It is not saying this is the only way of doing worship. Second is, in India, though India is the origin or home for two different rites, we have three major liturgical rites in India, that is Siromalabar, Malankara, and the Latin rite. And so, yes, the origin of many of this is very geographic, very maybe language specific, very culture specific. But as the church grew, all those boundaries had to be broken or shattered. Both Syro Malabar and Syro Malankara rite today is not restricted to only people in Kerala, not restricted to only people who speak Malayalam. You have people from all other places, because they are going out and doing a mission. So I think the very fact that this is there is the very reason why we say that church is Catholic, that is, the church is universal, and the church is accepting all the different forms of worship in the church, or encourages, or and maybe one more element is how the church protects this small when you take the different rites, maybe you can say the Latin rite is one of the largest rites, and there are a lot of other very small rites where the number of people who belong to that particular rite or church is very small. And how the church protects is, it actually does not encourage people from the smaller rite or smaller church to join the larger rite, for the simple reason that if all of them join, or if somebody forces them to join, then the small individual church ceases to exist. So the church even respects and honors that tradition that you are growing into that extent.
Yes, I think it's very clear right now that these 24 divisions do not discriminate, but the church respects everybody's culture. That is the reason why we even have this. Okay, over to you, Johnny. Oh, I think Johnny's facing a technical issue. Hello, Johnny. Can you hear me?
Johnny got stuck, I think so.
Yes, Johnny is stuck. Okay, so I think I would take over from Johnny. Yeah. So yeah. So I think is he coming back? Yes, he's back. Yes,
Yeah, I'm
Johnny,
here. I'm
over to you. Yeah.
technical issues actually. So yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are.
Awesome, awesome. I'm sorry. Could you just tell me the last line which CC was talking about? I think I dropped off there, Neil.
He was talking about how these 24 divisions, 24 liturgical rites are not causing a discrimination, but they are actually because the church is respecting us. So that's where he ended. Yeah, you can continue from there.
Got it, got it. No, both on the same page now. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
CC, I was just thinking like probably just a small diversion here. Like when you were talking about the fact that probably pushing the neighbor into the mud. Yeah, I think I heard till there. When I heard mud or when I heard like pushing people down, I don't know, CC, but I don't know. Instantly, it was like it was as if you were reading my mind on how Neil treats me half the time. Like without
Yeah.
dignity, without basic
Yeah.
dignity. Basic dignity. Like I
I
asked him
only
at
throw
times
buckets. When did
to
I started pushing you to the mud?
I, dude, you throw bucket at me, it hits me, I
Yeah.
fall in the mud only, right? Like
No,
that's
it's in
that's
the
that's on
bathroom, no?
you take okay, let's not go into the bucket conversation, but yeah, I was just telling you, Neil, that probably you could make some use of what he's telling, instead of just
Yeah,
just
sure.
reflect on this. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
deal with this later.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Without buckets, please. So yeah. So
Johnny,
along
did you go away early because Neil threw a bucket on you, or something happened?
I was scared. The fear made that happen, CC. Yeah, he didn't exactly throw the bucket because you are there. So usually when other people are there, he wouldn't do that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So CC, on those lines, probably again, this is this. I'm just. I think Neil usually asks these questions about how handsome he is. How about beauty and all of that. So I think again, just on behalf of Neil, because Neil is too shy to ask this question. So again, in a world where beauty is defined as probably tall, thin, handsome, big, or whatnot. Again, some of Neil's definitions, of course. So especially when it comes to marriage, is it discriminatory to look at all of these characteristics, especially in the context of marriage? Like, what does the church have to teach about maybe the how we perceive beauty? Does the church have a teaching on that?
Okay, let me start. I don't know if you're aware, Unilever did something very drastic, or after
Yes,
many
they
years.
removed the
Yes.
term fair from that.
It's
Yes,
lovely
yeah,
now.
yeah.
So no, it's just removing that phrase. Fair enough, I don't know, but yeah, at least something where we are starting. I don't know if you remember, in the olden days, for a woman, the most attractive man was someone who was tall, dark, and handsome. Okay, and when did this fair come into the picture? I don't know, but maybe yeah. What is beauty? The church's definition of beauty is very, 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 very profound. In other words, beauty is something that attracts you, and the first reaction to beauty is wow. For example, when you see a sunrise and you like it, your reaction is what? You don't turn away your head. You say, wow, is that something very beautiful? Or you see a beautiful painting. Your heart is touched by what you see. The difference is that I don't put it in a cage and make it only for myself. Or I don't say, okay, all of the others turn your head away and keep it. It is no, sunrise is only for me. Everybody else should be banned from seeing that. That is not what happens. So the moment it becomes something that I want to enjoy only on myself is when there is a problem with the whole dimension of beauty. Now, can I have certain conditions for marriage? Well, from our childhood, that is what we are taught. Okay, you should have certain criteria, certain conditions, certain maybe expectations. Looking out for that, I don't think is discrimination, because even when you want to go for a job, you have certain criteria saying, okay, this should be the minimum salary, this type of company I should get. Or when you want to go for your higher studies, you have certain criteria in mind. So those criteria in itself is not discriminatory. But when that becomes a law for you, it becomes a problem. That means even when God brings someone who he actually wants you to maybe, or God brings an institution where you actually should go for higher studies, because you have created those laws, you might not even be able to look at those institutes. So having certain desires, having certain criteria for your maybe shortlisting these things is not wrong. But the moment that becomes a law for you and you decide that I will never diverge from these points, then it becomes a serious issue, because you are actually putting, even when it comes to looking for your life partner, you are putting that person's dignity at maybe bay, because you are giving more importance to your law, you are giving more importance to your boxes than to the person who is actually standing in front of you. So having that is not discrimination, but when you make it your law, when you make it your cardinal rule in life, is when I think it becomes something seriously wrong, because you're undermining the other person.
Neil, did you hear that? Loud
Yes,
and
I did
clearly.
hear
Did
it.
you? And he said short list, not notebook. There is a difference.
Johnny, I think people would have understood by now that whenever you blame me for something, you are making it up. So you don't have to do it all the time. Okay, so
I'm okay. Maybe some things are made up, but the fact that you treated me with throwing buckets at me, that's not made up. That's not
yeah,
made up.
okay, fine.
Audience,
Yeah,
please be on my side. Okay, cool. Yeah. So
yeah, sure.
Neil, just before we probably proceed with the next question, I would like to remind our lovely audience, please put in your questions if any you have in the live comments. We will soon be addressing your questions. It's going to be, soon going to be lifetime in addressing your questions. So, yeah, on that note, Neil, you have anything additional to ask?
Yes, I do have a question right now, and yeah, since you were talking about people of different colors, of people who have, beauty is not something, it's not something just based on the body, but it's something else. So right now, you are a person who's working with a lot of differently abled kids, right? Yeah. So we always see that differently abled people are denied a lot of access to things. They are not able to access things, or most of the things and facilities that are available in this world are not friendly to them. So denying opportunities to differently abled people, isn't that a sort of a discrimination?
Okay, maybe I'll start with the question itself, because the United Nations and the international community does not like using the phrase differently able, because they say that using that phrase itself is discriminatory. They like to be called as people with disabilities. That is because people is first. They are people, but they have certain disabilities, and maybe on a larger context, they will even say that there is no one who doesn't have disability. So we don't usually, or internationally, we don't say differently abled or specially abled. They would like to be called as people with disabilities, because the first is people, and that actually unites all of us together. Yes, there is tremendous discrimination that you see in the context of people with disabilities, and that is why I think the government and a lot of other places, they are setting up certain rules. For example, in the government, there's the 3% rule, or there is a rule in the schooling system that a child with disability cannot be denied admission. Not a child, not with child with disability, but no one can actually be denied an admission. Now, Fourth Way's journey started in this area very beautifully, because we were actually asked to do a research on the employability of people with disabilities, and we were shocked to find that all the so-called companies are saying that they have enough jobs available for them, but there are no people who are qualified enough to maybe work on those jobs. So that is when we started this journey, because we realized that the problem lies with the schooling system, and from there, is there discrimination? There is. Even to be very honest, okay, don't say this out loud to others. Even when the way we build our churches, sometimes we discriminate people with disabilities, because our churches are having a plethora of stairs, no lift or no ramp where this person can go. So sometimes we don't even realize, even when we make our homes, we are so insensitive that we have a lot of steps in front, and we don't realize that maybe when a person on a wheelchair comes, how does that person enter my home, or how does that person enter the church? Even forget a person on a wheelchair, even our elderly. Okay, so it's we sometimes are we intentionally doing it? I don't know. Sometimes we might not be intentionally doing it. We are not aware. We don't see what is happening around. We don't realize what is happening around, and maybe that is why all this is happening. So there is discrimination of people against people with disabilities, and you will see a lot of them actually today struggling and fighting to be in the system, which would be easy for you and me.
Thank you there, CC. Also, just again, one question related to that, one doubt I had. So I always thought that calling the people with disabilities, as you mentioned, like calling them differently abled, is that discriminatory in actuality? Because I always thought that calling them physically challenged was discriminatory. I think that was the discriminatory term. So is there a
No.
connection there, CC?
Yeah, physically challenged, you're only limiting to one area of disability. Autism, there is nothing physically challenging in autism. Okay, so physically, why they say is the moment you're saying that they are different, you're actually discriminating. You're saying differently able. Now, if you take both of you, John and Neil, you can fight with each other and say that you're differently abled. Okay, because you maybe Neil can play the guitar and you can only receive buckets on your head. So yeah, there is both of you are differently able. So when you say person with disability, you are identifying with the dignity of the human person. Okay, and that person has a slight disability, or person has some major disabilities in his or her life.
Okay. So
Thank you
I
there,
think,
CC.
yes,
Yeah.
I think he answered that very nicely. I don't think we have much more to ask about that. And
Yeah.
we would directly go into the audience questions. We have a lot of questions coming in. So can we have the first question?
We have, yeah.
Yes, we have the first question.
So first question, CC from the YouTube handle that goes Travel with Joseph. Joseph asks, why do Knanaya people don't allow to get married from outside their rite? I mean, is that right or is that not right? So
Too many rights over there. No, yes, yeah. Why do they not? I have not spent a lot of time talking to them or reading on this, but my understanding is they don't want their bloodline to be diluted. Is the simplest answer that I can give. I may be wrong, but the couple of discussions that I had of late is they are also looking at ways of maybe broadening their outlook. So I have not spent a lot of time talking to them about why they do and where this come from, but that is a particular very small community within the maybe Catholic Church in Kerala. But why do they do that? Simply the only reason I know is they want to keep their maybe bloodline pure from Knanaya, Thomman and the others. But yes, a lot of discussion is happening these days on how they can broaden that outlook.
got it.
Yeah. So can we have the next question? The question is from Angelin Jacob. Does one's identity determine one's dignity?
Okay. Like I said earlier, in a secular sense, all the other things matter. But when we look at the teaching of the Catholic Church and look at the Bible, and dignity is not dependent on anything. The very fact that you are created means that you are a person of worth. And why we say that is all through history, I think, I personally believe that even if you are the only person on planet Earth, Jesus would have died for you, irrespective of how you look, which country you come from, what color you have, whether you are able or disabled, or whether you are old or young. Jesus does not look at any of these things, and the Bible does not want us to look at any of these things. So nothing that is of you actually determines your dignity. Your dignity is on you because you are created. The very fact that God decided to create us in His image and likeness itself is the reason that we have bestowed with so much of dignity. Okay, now the other side of it, maybe just to help the person, is we sometimes feel that we have lost that dignity, or we have lost that maybe. John, you have a purse or something, Johnny, with you? Purse or
Yeah,
Neil?
I do. I have
You
plus.
have money in that?
Yeah, I do.
Money? How much? Don't take out the whole thing, but just take one.
It's there. It's there. See, it's there. Let me
It's
Just
see.
take
supposed to
one
be
more.
working.
Yeah.
It's there. It's just cashless India. Cashless
Oh.
India. Okay.
Neil, you have money on you. I forgot to get my purse
No.
down here. Okay,
Uh,
I'll then I won't be able to show it to you. But let's say you have 100 rupee note, pristine, clean. You get from the bank. Okay, and it's clean, and you go to the shop, and what is the value of that? You get 100 rupees worth of stuff for you. Now, let's say somebody crushes that note, and then it comes to you and you give it to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper doesn't say that it is crushed. You still get the value of the product is still the same. Suppose it falls in the mud and becomes dirty, the value doesn't go, even to the extent that even if it is torn, you can actually go to the bank and exchange that for another 100. So the value doesn't go of the 100 rupees, irrespective of how you look, how damaged you are, how torn you are. The very fact that it has got an equal amount of maybe gold stored somewhere because of that 100 rupees is what gives value to that 100 rupees. Is the same value for you. You know, the Bible says that Jesus died as a ransom for you. So your value is actually the blood of Christ, not your color, not your creed, not your religion, not your country, not your language, not your abilities, not your skills, or lack of any of these. So your value is the image and likeness of God.
okay, that's
Okay.
that's
See.
wonderfully said. And we got to know that Johnny doesn't have any money.
Neil, well, again, my dear audience, on my behalf, we all
Neil, don't
know.
discriminate Johnny, Neil.
No, I'm not discriminating him. I'm just telling that he spends too much.
Yeah, maybe.
on Neil, of course. I mean, if he asks, of course, who is my neighbor? One of my neighbors, I consider.
I've not
Neil.
seen you in 3 months.
When Neil asks me, Johnny, can you please, I need this. Can you please provide for me, a little bit of a loan, because my parents won't. Oh, I think they're watching the show as well. So yeah, of course. Who else is there, Neil, to give you?
Yeah. I've not seen you in 3 months. Don't forget that.
Awesome. So can we have the next question, please? So Sandra asks, Sandra asks, do you think outward beauty is more important than the beauty of the heart, or the inner beauty? So what are your thoughts on that?
For me, outward beauty is very subjective. So it can never be important to anyone, because that keeps changing. Even when you, let's say, you look at your children, or you look at your wife, when you marry, she looks in a particular way. So outward beauty is not important. And the problem with many of us today is we give so much of importance to that that we actually don't realize that we are not looking at what life has to be looked at. We are so worried about what we see in the mirror that the mirror becomes the God, rather than looking at the eyes of God. So outward beauty, it might maybe attract you for a few seconds, but that is transient. That is passing. So yes, beauty of the heart is much more important than outward beauty of a person. The other way around. Okay, I don't know if you look at a woman like Mother Teresa, with all her wrinkled faces, you can still see so much of beauty and grace on her face. So she is wrinkled. She is hardly 5 feet, but the moment you look at her unknowingly, you'll say, wow. So outward beauty, after a particular point, is very shallow.
Yeah, Neil, it's okay.
Definitely.
You don't have to cry at your reflection. It's okay. It's the inner beauty. Dude, golden heart you have.
Now see who's discriminating.
It's just connecting what CC said, like I don't know, every time I feel it's just talking directly to us, man. Neil,
Yeah, sure.
awesome, awesome. Actually,
Okay.
before he gives a comeback, can we please have the next question before he gives a comeback?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Neil, your
Okay.
question is here.
Yes, it's again from the name called Travel with Joseph. So, why did not the church do anything when the Delhi riots were happening? If this is what the church teaches, they did not even try to help the Muslim people who were suffering.
True. Very sad, very bad. There's no comment that I can give. All that I can say is what I heard many years ago about the churches. And maybe when we look at all the other problems in the churches, church is not a museum of saints but a hospital of sinners. Okay, so the church in Delhi should have responded, should have done a lot more than what it had done. Why it did not know, I don't know the reasons, I don't know the logic that people are having, but the church should have done a lot more. uh, if if we say that we are the church of God, and if we believe that we live the teachings of Jesus Christ. So all I can say is church should have done more. But when I look at a lot of other things in the world, is yeah, I see the church doing a lot more than others also. So I think it's balancing. But when it comes to specific case of Delhi, I think we could have done a lot. I don't know the reasoning, okay, behind why certain things did not happen. But from an outsider, when I look, I agree with the person who asked the question. Yes, we could have done a lot more, and we should have done a lot more.
Okay. So, can we go to the next question now?
So moving on, from a person, Unbox Creativo, that's the YouTube handle. Is it advisable to abort a child if the doctor mentions that the kid is going to be physically disabled?
You're asking a very personal question here, because that is one of the reports we got. Okay, when we did scan for, they call it the anomaly scan, and they tend to, and that is one of the challenges of a lot of research that is happening, because you in the womb is going to determine the future of the child, whether it's going to be athletic or so. No matter what, life is valuable in the eyes of God, and that is why life is there. So you and I believe, have no right to abort that child, especially because the child has no voice of his or her own. I always ask this question. In today's world, many of us would have actually advised Mother Mary to go for abortion, because she was too young, not married, and she was pregnant. And if she comes to you for advice, she will say, "Yeah, hush it out. Maybe go." And then we would never have had a guy called Jesus in our lives. So I don't think doctors telling you that a child is going to be a person with disability gives you any right to terminate that child's life.
Yes, I think that's answered. I don't think we have
Completely
any.
agree with that. Yeah, I
Yes.
don't think there's any other option to that. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, next question. Jensen K. Johnny, uh, your view on the Tuticorin incident. How do we respect people's dignity? In this case, the policemen, especially at times when there are such heinous actions done by them.
Is that a place? I think it's Tuticorin. I think it's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
it's very painful. I don't know if you have heard or if you saw anything. It's very painful. We are very vociferous when something happens to person in US, and we don't even move our fingers when something happens to people right in our neighborhood, or right in our country. It's very painful. It is very saddening. It is very uneasy that this has happened. And how can we look at the cops who did this? Uh, what would have Jesus done? I'll give you one simple, maybe explanation that I was using a couple of days back. I'm sure you know the famous incident of Jesus sitting in the house with Simon the Pharisee, not Simon the Apostle, but Simon the Pharisee. And a woman comes and breaks the alabaster jar and wipes his feet, and she cries at Jesus's feet, and the Pharisees are discussing among themselves. Doesn't Jesus know that she is sinful, and how can he allow a sinner to touch? And that is when Jesus asks a very pointing question at Simon the Pharisee. Jesus asked Simon the Pharisee, Simon, do you see the woman? It's a very strange question. He knows they are talking about her. So why ask that question? Do you see the woman? Any idea? Jesus asked Simon, do you see the woman? Is because Simon and the Pharisees did not see the woman. They saw the sinner. Jesus saw the woman, and that is what transformed her. So even when such bad things happen, I don't say you go and sympathize or empathize or what. You and I, as Christ's disciples, will have to look at the perpetrators of the crime. They have to be brought to justice. They have to be given all the maybe things that the legal system allows, but we have to look at them with maybe love. Maybe that is one of the reasons why church is fighting very hard against this whole death penalty and things like that, because a person's life is very, very important, and we don't know when and at what point that person might repent and come to a realization that what he has done is or she has done is wrong. So yes, it is very painful. We as Christians, we have to reach out to the people who are victims of such problems, but at the same time, we should not forget and that is where I think there's a big problem with our understanding of life. Whereas everyone else will say, okay, go destroy the other person, go kill the other because they did something wrong, which is right. They did something really heinous.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there are a lot of questions coming in, but I think we'll have to address just 2 more questions. That would be our time limit, right? Yeah. So can we have the next question?
So we have the next question from Anna Rose. Anna asks, there are a lot of child abuse cases in most countries, and the church has participated in hiding and protecting the perpetrators. Isn't this, undignifying another human, especially because justice was not given?
That is what the popes have said, especially John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis, that we have done something which should not have happened. We should not have hidden. And the church has done something wrong. And today, late, but yes, church has come to an understanding of completely zero tolerance policy in the church. Now, when you talk about child abuse, maybe it's nice sometimes we go through data. Maybe another show we will do where abuse happens all throughout. Okay, it happens in the house, it happens in the community, it happens in the school. But when it happens in the church, we are alarmed because church is supposedly a place where this should not happen. Okay? And when it happens and we hide it, it is wrong. We should not have done that. The popes have asked pardon for what they have done. Today, church believes in a completely zero tolerance policy. So it should not have happened. We should not have hidden these things.
Okay. So can we quickly go to the next question? Yes, Anika Thomas Talit. Yes, her question is, should we see the non-Catholic denominations as our neighbors because they propagate hatred and lies on Catholics? Example, they address us as cult members.
Okay. I will do what Jesus might have done to this question. Okay. Suppose you are lying on the road almost with an accident to you and you are going to die. Would you let that person help you? Or would you say, no, you are from another denomination, because you're from another denomination, don't touch me? If you would want that person to help you because you are in dire straits, then I don't think we should at any point reach a state where they might tell lies about you, they might be discriminating, or they might tell a lot of wrong things about the church, but that doesn't deny the fact that they were created in the image and likeness of God. Okay, so you and I have to, do you have to put them in your house? Do you have to put them in a pedestal? Do you have to worship them? No, but you have to treat them with dignity. You have to treat them with respect, because they are also created in the image and likeness of God. So we have no As a Catholic, you and I have no. That is why you see Pope Francis doing all that he is doing. If you go to Rome today, you will be surprised. You will see a lot of people all around on the streets of Rome, which might not have been possible if Pope Francis was not there. So yes, the other person might have caused you harm, or may not be physically, but yes, emotionally, maybe maligning your church. But again, church, when you look also, there's a difference. Okay, sometimes for us, church is only limited to our parish priest, and our parishioners. So when we say the church, actually, church is something very, 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 very huge and very, very beautiful. So we may get uneasy with what is happening in our parish, but that doesn't mean that is the face of the church.
Okay. I think we'll quickly go into another question because we have some more time left. So the next question, please.
So again, by the person, the YouTube handle Travel with Joseph. If the Catholic Church so much cares about the dignity of a person, shouldn't the Church allow euthanasia when a person is unable to live with dignity?
Again, why are we saying he or she is unable
So
to?
sorry to cut you off again, but we have a similar question as well, so you could probably address them both. So, what about euthanasia? This question is by Amulya. What about euthanasia, especially when it's the desire of the patient to end his or her life? Now, is it debatable that it is the right of that person to be allowed their choice because he or she has dignity? So, yeah.
Okay. Now, let me address the first dimension of attaching somebody who is terminally ill, saying that that person does not have dignity is, I don't know how we can say that. The fact is all of us are going to die. I might not die of terminal illness. Another person might die of terminal illness. We are all going to die. The fact that we will all have some pain or the other. For some people, pain is bearable. For the other person, pain might not be bearable. So just because somebody has cancer or somebody has any other illness that will take away that person's life in pain does not mean that that person has no dignity. It is completely wrong to say that somebody who is terminally ill does not have dignity. Like I said, a person's dignity is not determined by what that person is or who that person is, what that person is earning, or whether that person is in pain or not. Now, second part of the question is, does the person have the right to choose whether or not to end one's own life or not? I don't believe we have the right, because we don't have the right to decide on beginning our life. So my personal understanding and the church's understanding is, when I can't decide when I am born, I should not be able to decide when I am going to die. And that will create, it will open up a lot of other problems. For example, a person in, let's say, is 70 years old and has a terminal illness. That person, if you allow euthanasia, that person wants to die because he is or she is in pain. Today, a 20-year-old guy is having severe mental trauma because his boss shouted at him. He is also going through tremendous pain. He is going through emotional distress now. Shouldn't we allow that person also to die? It will open up a lot of, it's like the Pandora's box. The moment we open it up, we don't know where we would be going with this debate. Or tomorrow I meet with an accident and I am lying on the bed, and at that moment maybe I am paralyzed hip down. Shouldn't I? No, that is not. Also, when we are debating on this, the other side of it is also our responsibility to take care of people who are terminally ill. And I think the world, in very simple way of saying that you can die, you are actually taking that privilege away from them and from you. You know, that you are not given that opportunity to be with someone who is in dire needs. Or let's say a poor person who is on the street, he is going through tremendous problem, tremendous mental agony. Can we allow that, or should we say that that person has a choice to kill himself or herself? No. You and I are so valuable. The life is so precious. How can we just end life because at some point it is painful, or at some point it looks empty, or at some point it we don't have, we should not be given that right, is my understanding of the whole thing.
Yes, I think
Okay.
that is also answered. And guys, we're out of time. So if you have more questions, do not worry. I think there are
I
a
think,
couple more
yeah,
questions.
there's like a couple more questions we could probably ask. Yeah,
Okay,
couple
fine,
more
fine,
maybe.
fine. Yeah,
So
maybe.
you have another question, Janine?
Okay, it's from Hoop TV. When church says not to use condom or any non-abortive contraception methods, isn't church trying to control people even to their bedroom? How is that protecting a person's dignity? Probably dignity. Okay, can you go to the next one? How is it different from Chinese government who says you should only have this many children? Both are practically establishing control. Two questions for you.
Okay. I would look at it the other way around. Okay. Why is the church discouraging use of contraceptions? Is because church is not using it as birth control method. Church is looking at the fact that a man and a woman, when united in marriage, should look at each other with extreme love and should be able to give each other, should be able to give to each other fully. So the moment you are actually using a contraception, you are like it could happen today. Let's say you are kissing each other with a face mask on. You are putting a barrier between you and the other person, or you and your wife, and you will start using the other person as an object. So the moment you start using contraception, actually dignity of the other individual you might disregard, because all that matters to you is your pleasure. Okay, so one is why church is asking you not to use it is because you treat each other with tremendous dignity. And secondly, for church, life is very, 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 very important. And church encourages us to be open to life. That does not mean you have to be giving birth to children always, but church encourages us to be always open. So there's a difference, because in the case of the government of that particular country, she or he mentioned, they are advising people to have a particular number of children because they want to control the population and a lot of other things. Whereas in the case of the church is asking us not to use contraception. So you actually respect and give value to your partner more and more, and stop looking at your partner as an object for your self pleasure.
Okay, that is pretty much it, and you've put
So
that very beautifully. Also, I think we
I
are
think Neil,
we
yeah,
covered all the
we are
questions,
at
right?
the end. Yeah. So I would,
Yes.
our dear audience, thank you so much for your time this Saturday evening, for joining us on this live. I would quickly like to, bring to your attention that for those of you who are, or rather, who are part of the previous episode wherein we hosted GOP George and we had a discussion, a conversation on mental health. Please note that the questions that were not answered during the live session, we have actually, we have kind of brought about the answers in the form of a video that will soon be uploaded at the least by Monday on this channel itself. So those of you, know that you have, those of you, you who know that your questions were not answered on the live, please head downtown on this channel, YouTube channel, and keep watch for that video that's soon going to come answering your questions. Again, it's open to everyone. If you would like to hear a little more, be a little more aware, we are discussing a lot of topics actually in that extended video from our last episode. And then again, please, as you can see this banner going down, two very quick and very easy and very simple things that my dear lovely audience, you can do. Number one, if you can see very clearly, those of you with glasses, please clean them, and you can see a very, might not be shiny depending on your laptop or your screen clarity, but there is a button that says subscribe over there. It's kind of red in color, if I'm not wrong. Neil, it's red in color, right?
Yes, it
It says
is.
subscribe on it, right? Yeah. I think
Yes.
it's there beneath every video on YouTube, guys. So it'll be awesome if you can just click that button just once. Once would do. Please don't click twice. And guys, head on down to Instagram as well, where we are. You can follow us on Instagram. The banner is there at the Catholic Chai. Or you can just search for the Catholic Church on Instagram, and please do follow us. And also, the live comments is where you can ask us your questions. You can also DM us on Instagram any questions at any point of time on any topic under the sun that you feel you would want to ask us, and definitely at some point of time we would be taking that up as well in our live sessions. So once again, thank you so much, Cece. CC Joseph for being with us as our guest speaker on the show, for giving us a broader perspective on, who exactly is my neighbor, and how can we also be a good neighbor to our neighbors. So yeah,
Yes. Thanks a lot, CC.
Thank you, and God bless.
thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay,
See
so
you, CC.
today, see you, bye-bye. And so today we have something to announce, something very exciting to announce. Probably we've not done this in our previous shows. So right now we're going to announce what our next topic is going to be. So you guys can always, look forward to it, and probably start posting your questions, start thinking about it now itself. And I think one question about that has already come up. So I hope you guys are starting to guess what the topic is. So Johnny, do you want to say what the topic is for next week?
Ladies first, Neil. Ladies first.
I'm
I'm a ladies first man.
This is like next level discrimination which is happening. I don't know what is this.
Neil, this is respect. This is courtesy.
Okay,
Ladies
fine,
first. You haven't heard of that?
just like I always tell, the buckets will always come flying, and in your time, Johnny, I'll be waiting to meet you. Okay. So since Johnny wants me to announce the topic, I'm going to announce the topic. So the topic is abortion. Okay. So we already got some questions about that, and so I hope you guys are excited about this topic. We would be addressing this in the coming probably in the next 2 weeks, probably on a Saturday, just like this. So hope you guys would be waiting. And again, about this topic also, if you have more questions, always feel free to DM us or put it in the comments. Okay, and we would be addressing it. We would definitely be addressing it. Okay, so we would like to end this time.
Yeah, we conclude with a prayer, Neil. So we conclude
conclude it with
glory be
the
to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be,
world without end. Amen.
God bless you, our dear, lovely audience. Next episode, we will see you soon on Saturday, 99.9% at 7 p.m. On the next Saturday, as usual. Stay tuned, guys. Hopefully, all of you have clicked that subscribe button. If not, take quick next 2 seconds to click that button, guys, if you've forgotten. And this is Neil George and Johnny Baby, co-hosts on the Catholic Chai Talk Show. And we'll see you soon. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless all of you.
Bye-bye.